Hi friends, and welcome back to MV Stories. Today we'll look at a few Reddit stories. Today's story comes from the Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was posted by Mirror Mama and was titled, Am I the A-hole for staying no contact with my family even though my stepmother is dying? I am female 36, my husband is male 34, my father is male 60, stepmother, female I think late 50s, early 60s. My stepmother is dying of cancer. She was apparently diagnosed somewhere around a year ago to my knowledge, and although she apparently went through many treatments, things have deteriorated very quickly. She's now only expected to have a few days when she was told a couple of months ago that it was looking like a possible 12 months plus. My aunt called me today and asked me to put everything behind us and go and see her before she dies. She thinks I'll regret it if I don't. The problem is I don't actually want to. For some background, my relationship with my stepmother was never openly abusive in a noticeable way. It was more years of subtle digs, passive-aggressive comments, and feeling like my thoughts and opinions didn't matter and my input was often rejected in family discussions. She sometimes spoke negatively about my mom in front of me in my youth, and if something went wrong in my life, there always seemed to be an implication that I'd somehow brought it on myself. She always offered help with things I needed like cover letter writing for jobs when I was younger, etc., but in times where I needed her to use her maturity and compassion, she would side with my brother/her mother, and my sister and I's points would be squashed. She once growled at me, "You're not a parent, so you can't tell me anything about raising a child," when I brought up with her that I was concerned that about my brother being left to play computer games for days on end until he toileted himself and sat in it. I was chastised for speaking up while he was told he lost his games for a week, but would have then returned by the end of the day. I was a youth, and my brother was around for her. My dad always sided with her. Even when I felt she was clearly out of line, he'd either defend her or tell me to let it go. Over time, I stopped feeling like I had a dad who was really in my corner. Her mother also had a serious alcohol problem and would become verbally abusive towards me when she drank. Instead of standing up for me, my dad and stepmother would tell me to stay quiet because otherwise she'd keep everyone awake by drinking more, shouting, and slamming doors. I was basically expected to accept being spoken to like that because it made life easier for everyone else. Eventually, I reached my limit. I calmly told her I wasn't willing to be spoken to that way anymore. I wasn't screaming or throwing a tantrum. I simply said I wouldn't accept it. Instead of being supported, I was criticized by both my dad and stepmother. Fast forward a few years, my daughter was born on January 5th, 2025. Before she arrived, I sent everyone who planned to meet her a list of newborn boundaries. Things like washing hands, no kissing the baby, no strong perfume, keeping voices down, and giving her back when she needed feeding. One of those boundaries was that anyone with poor hygiene wouldn't be holding my newborn. This became relevant because my half-brother, I may sometimes refer to him as brother, has struggled for years with severe depression and self-neglect. I genuinely feel for him because I've struggled with my own mental health before. At the same time, his hygiene had deteriorated to the point that his body odor was overwhelming. When I reluctantly invited him to my wedding, I saw guests around him trying to hide their gagging. My half-brother has also always been the golden child. My stepmother adored him and, in my opinion, enabled him for years rather than encouraging him to become independent. Even before his depression, he was rarely expected to do much for himself. I actually spent years trying to encourage him, telling him he deserved better and was capable of more, but every time I tried, I was told to leave him alone or made to feel like I was causing problems. Months before my daughter was born, I'd already sent everyone the newborn boundaries. My sister later told me that she and my stepmother had discussed the hygiene rule in the car, and my stepmother asked if I was referring to my brother. My sister apparently replied that it was obvious because he was dirty. So my stepmother already knew exactly who that boundary applied to before they even came to visit. When they came to meet my daughter about 4 weeks after she was born, my stepmother still asked me in front of everyone if I'd make an exception because he's your brother. I said no. I wasn't trying to embarrass him or punish him. I just wasn't willing to compromise my newborn's health to avoid hurting an adult's feelings. During that same visit, I also spoke to my half-sister. I may sometimes refer to her as sister. She had begged me throughout my pregnancy to be there when I gave birth. Hospital policy technically meant she was too young to attend. It was over 18s only in the birthing suite, and she was a mature 17 at the time, but I arranged everything anyway. Before my induction, she stayed at our house. I cooked her favorite meal, bought snacks, made up the spare room with fresh bedding, and gave her my Switch and PlayStation while we waited. The plan was that once I was moved from the induction ward to the delivery suite, we'd send her an Uber. When that time came, my husband called her, but she said she'd change her mind because she was tired and had decided to go to her boyfriend's house instead. When I found out after giving birth, I was devastated. So during the visit, I told her honestly how much that had hurt me. She cried and had a panic attack, and Dad said he hadn't known about this and then stayed quiet for the rest of the visit. After that, there was almost complete silence. My stepmother, brother, and sister never called, never texted, never checked how I or my daughter were doing. Before then, I'd always been the one making the effort, especially with my brother. At one point, I realized the last message he'd sent me in over 2 years had only been to remind me it was his birthday because I hadn't messaged him yet, even though it was still the morning of. My dad contacted me a handful of times, and I'd send him photos of my daughter. He'd tell me how beautiful she was, but he never asked if I needed help, never offered a visit, never asked how I was coping, and never offered any practical support. I was a first-time mom, recovering from childbirth, living with a disability, exhausted, struggling mentally, and trying to adjust to motherhood. I wasn't expecting anyone else to raise my child. I just wanted my dad to look at me, see that I was struggling, and ask, "What do you need?" Instead, it felt like nobody really saw me. During that period, my birthday came and went, and every single year of my life, my dad has wished me a happy birthday. We've spoken on the phone, and he's always sent me a little birthday money. This was the first year that never happened. He also forgot my husband's birthday. I know my stepmother was unwell by then, and I genuinely understand that life must have been incredibly difficult for them. This isn't about the money. What hurt was feeling like I'd quietly stopped existing. At a time when it already felt like the rest of the family had forgotten me, losing that one tradition with my dad made me feel forgotten too. After around 10 months of this, I blocked everyone. The final straw came when my dad phoned me because he was worried he might be seriously ill. I was genuinely concerned for him, but during the same conversation where he told me he was scared for his life, he suddenly chirpily brought up the fact I'd blocked my sister on Instagram and started grilling me about it. It made me feel like that was what he really wanted to talk about, so I decided to cut contact completely. Since then, my mental health has improved enormously. My life is peaceful. My daughter is thriving. I don't spend my time walking on eggshells anymore. Now, my stepmother is dying, and suddenly I'm being asked to come back because she's family. I don't hate her, and I certainly don't wish this illness on her. But I also don't feel that dying erases years of hurt, or makes me responsible for repairing relationships that nobody else tried to repair while there was still time. I've thought a lot about whether I'd regret not seeing her. Honestly, I think I'd be more likely to regret putting myself back into a family dynamic that caused me so much pain than I would regret missing one final goodbye. I also have been dwelling today on my dad, since it made me imagine about the pain of losing a partner. But I'm trying to trust my decision and continue with my own family and my own life and not re-enter a boundary that may very well cause us further distress. Am I the a-hole for staying no contact with my family, including my dying stepmother? I'm happy to answer questions. Thanks. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "You are being asked to come back into the fold because your dad doesn't want to be the only person responsible for the immature adults he helped raise with your stepmother, and nobody else in the family does either. Your family wants you back as a caretaker, not because they want you in their lives again. Not the a-hole." Hope you replied. This is what my husband said too. Just to be clear, my dad is not asking for me to come back, but he's trying to reach out / ask how I'm doing through my aunt since I blocked his number. But yes, I feel the possible regret from how everything turned out may be lingering. I don't think that's at the front of his mind at all right now, but I'll perhaps be able to judge at some point in the future. Commenter 2 says, "Not the a-hole, and please feel free to respond to your aunt with, 'Appreciate the update, but my therapist has told me that I should not be in contact with my organic family for my own mental health.' You're following orders for your health there." If your aunt argues that, let her know she is not a mental health professional. Opie replied, "I'm actually in therapy now, and my therapist is trying to get me to prioritize myself. They don't know about this situation either." Opie on her relationship with her father when it comes to her stepmother. Opie says, "My father has always been a very lighthearted person, always positive, stressed yet carefree and stoic when needed. I guess I just got punched in the feels about the whole fact of the situation. But I'm worried that that's my former empath tendencies tricking me into going back. All I can think about today is, what if that was my husband about to die? But at the same time, if I reconciled, I honestly don't know what direction my life would look like. I want to stop my feelings ping pong ing. Opie on, if she has a relationship with her mother. Opie says, "I don't speak to my mother anymore either, as she dropped my dog off back at the sanctuary I rescued her from while I was on my honeymoon. I came back to no dog, and you'll never find her as another unknowing person came and adopted my dog. I'll never ever see my baby again. That defo warranted no contact. I feel you on this one." Commenter 4 says, "Question, how far away does your dad live? You said shortly after giving birth, your stepmom was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and you felt like your dad wasn't involved enough with you during your postpartum days. Was he a short drive away or a flight? I'm not excusing the past actions. People who go no contact are usually totally justified, but it may be an explanation for lack of involvement if his wife just found out she was dying and you are 4 hours away. Not saying it would excuse it, I'm just trying to get a read on your dad and the situation better." Opie replied, "I live in North London and he's in the South. It would probably take a train or subway/tube about an hour and a half max to reach each other. I visited them a few times when I could after my wedding, and during my pregnancy band, they came up once to have a day out with me, and then for the newborn meeting. My dad worked as a paramedic during this time and was very busy with graveyard and long shifts. He also has notoriously bad health in terms of general immune system, which I also have, so I can understand in this respect the restraints he had and myself also with my disability. My sister came to visit frequently. We were actually inseparable all through her childhood. I became like a sister mother to her, and we had a strong bond. My brother, nothing obviously, and my stepmom would semi-occasionally text me during my pregnancy, sometimes to ask how I was, but mostly to find out what time my sister would come home from my house. I actually remember something that frequently pops up in my head. My pregnancy announcement. I decided that since my sister and I were doing well in our relationship, I would make her be the one to inadvertently reveal it to my parents after discovering. My husband bought her a Pandora charm since she was into those. It was a silver dummy/binky. And at the evening dinner, once she realized she sobbed, I was under the understanding that my fertility was shot, so it was unbelievable. Funnily enough, when she finally caught on, "Sister, why do you think it's a dummy? Think about it," and she gasped and cried, my stepmom blurted out, "Oh my God, Opie is pregnant," but not with any smile or elation, just very loud and blasé. My dad looked shocked and almost choked on his bite and looked happy, and my brother sat in silence. Just something that I remember. I wanted my sister to say it out loud, or for my dad to get the announcement more quickly, but as usual, stepmom had to be first. Opie's relationship with her aunt. Opie says, "I've told my aunt everything, but my aunt is a very, very positive person, always looking at the bright side of things and refusing to let the negative in. While I applauded her for such a bright and forgiving attitude, and am even jealous in some ways, I feel like coming from a woman who has also suffered in her life, she just doesn't seem to understand fully that my no contact is protecting me so far and helping the situation. My aunt is wonderful and will always see the best in people. But as a former uncontrollable empath, I see the danger in this mindset. I'm more reality-based thinking now, but just got gripped yesterday as my old empath ways try to resurface." Opie's final comment in this original post. Opie says, "Can I just jump in and say thank you for all the comments? The advice/dialogue has been helpful and is making me quite emotional, not in a happy or bad way, but in a comfort and self-confrontational way, and it's doing some good. I've heard all your stories and listened to your opinions and am awaiting more for as long as this thread can continue. Thank you everyone for your opinions. Keep it coming, please. Update 1. So, in terms of a near future, I feel this situation will continue to naturally update in one way or another, and I will eventually update what the final outcome will be based on my final choices if any of you are interested. I'll update in the future on the other subreddit if you can remember me and my story, and I'll link that destination in a comment below when it's posted, if that's permitted. But here goes for today. Update. I had to call my aunt just now to ask her to be my guarantor for us moving house. I missed a message from her earlier that said she was going to my dad's house/stepmother's bedside today, and when I called, she didn't tell me right away, as I was outside, in the heat, with 10 bags of groceries and baby and pram, out of breath and rushing my request. After we discussed that matter, she told me she was there paying her respects and saying goodbye, and I apologized for imposing and that I missed her message and I didn't know. She said not to worry at all. Then she said, "If the dad is next to me, would you like to speak to him?" But I paused, and before I said, "Not right now," he took the phone from her and said softly, "Wagwan," his usual jolly greeting he always gave me, with a somber undertone I could hear. I was a deer in headlights and said, "I can't do this right now," quite dismissively, and he said, "That's okay. Not to worry, I understand," and handed the phone back to my aunt. We then wrapped up the phone call. In that moment, hearing my dad greet me like that for the first time since last February shook my heart a little. His voice was the same person, but I could hear every undertone, his slight hoarseness, exhaustion from his situation. I messaged my aunt after and said, "I appreciate that you're so hoping Dad and I talk again, but I feel like in this moment with everything going on and emotions high, it's not the right time for either of us." She'll take it well and most likely apologize. But now I'm just sat staring at the wall, trying to process my feelings. I know you've all said I'm not the asshole, and pretty much all of you, plus my best friend and husband, think I should stay true to no contact, but whatever I choose is fine. I'm silently quaking under the pressures I have right now. Imminent house move/lawyer court things, etc. And I'm starting to feel desperate that I don't know who I am anymore in this situation and the right path to take. I can't bear how I was treated postpartum and everything else. It stings. And apparently I'm not a bad person. But why does it kind of feel like I am? Hearing my father's voice, so soft and frail in that moment, was a side of him I've never heard before. When he spoke, I felt my pupils dilate. I'm going to hold my own hand when I confess this. I think I miss my dad. Oh my, what should I do? I feel so lost. I can't concentrate. I feel a pressure in my chest. It feels like I don't know. I've also been having visions since hearing the news yesterday of my stepmother in the front room hospital bed in their house. The death rattle and my dad stoic, staying strong for my siblings, who I know will absolutely lose the plot, and finally slipping away into the garden to sob it out. Why am I having these visions? Am I caring too much? Not enough. Most of you helped me to understand the situation in many different lights, and I so very much appreciate that. I'm hoping maybe you all can see from the fly-on-the-wall perspective after this update, and tell me if I'm being weak/too empathetic and putting my own priorities in second place, or if having compassion should change my mind and comfort him/them through this hard time, despite the mistakes that were made. Relevant comments. OP on receiving support from other family members. OP says, "Let me tell you right now, I am blessed with great in-laws, and I miss them every day. They're in Japan, a whole world away, but I'll just come back from a month's holiday with them, and our bond grew stronger, especially with my father-in-law. They've made mistakes, too. My husband has told me about them. But the reasons were different and more about sacrifice for the ones they loved as opposed to bus throwing. Even though they're far away, I so pine for them and their energy. I'm blessed to know them and that they accepted me into their family." OP on why she is still speaking with her aunt when the aunt tells her to forgive her stepmother. OP says, "I hear you. As far as the guarantor thing, it's a really, really long and complicated story, spans over a year and a half of legal battle. But she's the only person that can enable us to move at this point, and we have to vacate by mid-August, or I'll be breaking the settlement contract we all agreed to today in court. There's no one else, for real, and we need to get out of the hellhole we are in for more reasons than I want to think about. It's my family's D-Day, and I haven't been under so much stress for so long to let them be at jeopardy now. Even during my pregnancy and during the newborn graveyard shifts, I was teaching myself law and reading legislation until the sun came up, even while breastfeeding. No matter what, I need her to come on board. I'll die of stress if this all falls through. I'm counting on her. This is the final hurdle to our freedom and being comfortable and safe for the years to come. Commenter says, the family punching bag always feels guilty when they stop letting themselves be the scapegoat. It's been burned into you. It's how you're wired after spending your childhood like this. Normal feels like making yourself small and convenient for your father and stepmother and siblings. And for you it is normal, but that doesn't make it okay or right. It's natural to feel like you miss the familiar, but just because something is familiar does not make it good. Think back about what you wrote last time, about how cutting contact helped your mental health. Ask yourself if resuming it feels like it would be good for you. Sometimes we miss idealized versions of what our family could have been or should have been. But the father, brother, and sister you're longing to reconnect with are not the people you would meet if you went back. Those people never really existed. The people you would be reconnecting with are the same ones you left. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, because it's your life and you deserve support no matter what decision you make. I just want to make sure you don't set yourself up for disappointment. All those old problems will still be there, because none of them think they're actually problems and none of them have made any effort to change. You can tell from the ways they interact with you and the ways they don't interact with you. Update 2. Nothing happened in between update 1 up until today. This is the second update. This evening my phone rang. My aunt's number. But when I picked up, it was my uncle. I kind of immediately knew what was up because I don't think we've ever spoken over the phone. Stepmother died on Sunday morning, and he was calling to tell me today. He was respectful in delivery and didn't make anything sound like a guilt trip or anything of the sort. He just let me know and said he respects my decisions going forward, whatever they may be. He also said everyone has been wrapped up in grief, obviously, in planning the funeral. We spoke some of the niceties, how is such and such / we're okay over here, etc., and that was that. After the phone call, I was okay. But it felt very strange to be aware that someone has been around, and for most of your youth and adult life, and now, poof, they don't exist anymore. I spoke to my therapist this morning about everything further. We couldn't discuss that topic in length, but they did hit on, more than once, that I need to regroup and be kinder to myself, to life my life the way I want it to be, to reach my goals, to feel more content and accomplished. So I will. I still have a gut feeling that if I were to decide to reconnect with my father, that it's not the right time anytime soon, and I'm not sure when would be, but especially not when all emotions are still high. So I'll leave it at this. For now, in the foreseeable future, I will remain no contact. Maybe I will send a condolences card or something, but I just feel like that's a bit colder. To just send some dead card with, I'm sorry for your loss, feels a bit generic to me. I don't know. Maybe I've gone too cold at this point. I will focus on myself and my family and the things that make me feel better and tick off accomplishments as much as I can. I want to get back to the gym, crochet, start gardening, pottery, and I don't want to view them as temporary or distractions. I will commit because I want to flower even more into appreciating myself. And I will try to calm my busy mind. For anyone wondering, although my aunt rejected the guarantor plea I asked from her, I'm staying positive that we can move house within the next week. I've been having dizzy spells and nosebleeds many times each day due to the total stress I'm under. House, family, lawyers, heat wave, etc. And my blood pressure is tanked, but I'm praying that my 1.5-year fight is finally over and soon I can breathe easy again. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who supported me and left your opinions and shared your stories. Whether it worked out that I was the asshole or not, I appreciate whatever feedback I got. I may not post another update, but I might. In the future, if I ever make contact, if you ever remember my story, look for my yellow daisy. Edit. A lot of people are saying send flowers and a card. I forgot to mention that my father and that family have moved, I guess in the time space relatively recently, and I don't know where they live. If I ask my aunt for the address, I know that my dad or siblings will either refute me or they'll think I'm sending a different message, looking for them, which I wouldn't be. What should I do if I ever want to get around this? Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, I agree with your therapist. Be kind to yourself, especially in the upcoming few weeks. I like that your uncle respects your space, and I hope your aunt will leave things be now that your stepmother's passing has come to pass. Some people are really just afraid of being alone or something, and when they see a family member actually able and okay with cutting off contact to keep the peace, they feel and act defensive about it, even though it's not towards them. Good luck with your health, and I hope you get that BP managed. Commenter 2 says, the yellow daisy thing got me really hoping Opie gets that fresh start, new home, better health, and some actual calm after all this. Opie replied, thank you. I'll know by Friday/Monday latest whether my life can change for the better.